What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Auto Auction Rebuilds. We're back with my favorite car, the 2013 Tesla Model S P85 that I bought for $7,800 from a dealer auction with only 269,000 miles on the odometer. So in case you haven't seen the other videos of the car, well, here it is. This is my new to me, well, it's not so new to me anymore. This car and I have gotten very personal with one another. I have ripped into its wiring and I've added a toggle switch for the heater because, well, the heater didn't work. And we are going to come back in a separate video and we are going to try to fix the heater by replacing the PTC unit, which is kind of a bear to get to. It's buried in there, but thankfully the part was only $135 used on eBay, guaranteed to be good, of course. And that's the name of the game here. It was a cheap car. It was a secondhand car. It's a one owner. I'm going to tell you the story about the car, all the stuff that's been replaced, and how much all of this stuff cost, and the story of how Tesla lied to the previous owner, and he ended up buying a brand new Tesla because of what they told him. Now, currently, I got the Tesla with 269,000 miles on. I have been daily driving this Tesla ever since. And it currently has, it just crossed, what is it, 270,012 miles. 270,000 miles on the odometer currently. Everything still works relatively well with the exception of the heater. We noticed that the blower motor did not work when we got the vehicle, and we found boxes and receipts in the car. Somebody had already paid for used parts, a blower motor and a blower motor resistor, had them replaced, and it did not fix the problem because, generally speaking, a parts cannon is not the solution to electrical problems. It helps to really get in and start diagnosing things. The problem is Tesla doesn't give you very many options for diagnosing things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how you can, where is it? Software. Where is it? Service. Software. Right here. You can go in and actually diagnose this car from the computer itself. You hold this right here. Then it's going to ask for an access code. Simply type service, S-E-R-V-I-C-E. Hit OK. And suddenly, watch this. The whole car is going to go into service mode. Bingo. Look at that. Service mode. Service mode. At this point, you can go to this little wrench icon right here, and you can find anything wrong with the car. So here are your service alerts. And here's what, I've got a few. It's just got a couple of minor, little alerts. Let's not focus on any of these and only focus on these right here. So these alerts are THC, and no, it's not the THC that you're thinking. We've got a THC radiator left shutter, no feedback. So apparently there are radiators, I assume, in the front, a left and a right cooling radiator, and they probably have flaps that open and close. Well, after 300,000 miles, it looks like the left flaps quit working. That is really not a big deal. This one, EPAS D076 KFC, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, DASTIMO. I don't know. What I do know is EPAS stands for Electronic Power Assisted Steering. I can tell you this, there's no warnings on the dash. The steering works fine. I'm not going to worry about it. This one is a DIW015 immobilizer. Again, no clue. You can click on it and it will just kind of give you some information. Immobilizer error is all it says. And if you click on this one, it simply says service fix. Now, we have an active arrow right here, and that shouldn't be an issue because this car does not have active arrow. I believe only the Plaid has active arrow. This car doesn't even have that. But this one right here is the one we're looking for. THC D0015 Cabin PTC Heater. Cabin climate control requires service, schedule service. And that's all it tells you. That's it. But since we have a code, obviously, for the PTC heater, I think it only makes sense to replace the PTC unit, which is buried way... It's back there, guys. We're going to do another video getting into that and ripping it out and putting the new one in. And with any luck, I think that's going to fix it. I do. I think that's going to fix our heater. Oh, but I forgot to show you. For now, however, to get around that issue, the blower motor works, the heater comes on, but The blower motor will not come on at the request of the car. If you push this button right here, bingo, I just turned on the climate control. The climate control is now on. It's on at 70 degrees and it's trying to come out of the vents. But there's nothing. Well, now there is. There we go. Conditioned air. Now, I can also turn this off, but it's still on because I've got to come down here and manually shut the blower off. So, not to worry. I know that that is a jerry-rigged way of doing things, but let me tell you something. I love driving this car. I have been daily driving. I've put 1,000 or so miles on it so far. And when it is below freezing outside, well, you want heat. And when the windows fog up, you want air-conditioned heat, right? I did what I had to do to get by, including I put some Rain-X anti-fog on all of the windows to help keep the windows from fogging. But it has great heat, working air conditioning. We need a couple of tires. We've got 2 tires that need to be replaced, and we have a link for the toe. The toe link on the passenger side is bad, causing some torque steer when I'm hitting the throttle. It's a little weird, but one part probably won't cost a whole lot to fix. And then, as if that's not enough, we have some noises from the front end of the car that I knew what it was the minute I got the car, and I'm not concerned about it. See, the car is saying, hey, I'm concerned about it. Sway bar end links on the front. Both of the front sway bar end links after 300,000 miles are rattling only at very low speeds over bumps. You will hear them kind of brrr, brrr. They rattle a little bit. All right, so there's what the car needs. That's what we're looking at in front of us. That's what we know so far. Of course, replacing the PTC heater is just a start. That may not fix the problem. There may be more to it. But that's what I know of today that needs repaired on a 300,000 mile Tesla that was less than $10,000. All right, forgive me, I have a list here, guys, because there's a few things to talk about. I told you that the previous owner got a hold of me. It's a one-owner car, and because I'm a dealer, it's still a one-owner car. It could go through 20 dealerships. It's only counted as an owner if it is registered into somebody's name. Dealerships don't count. So the guy saw the video, and he was like, man, he said, I love the video, except you got quite a few things wrong about that car. Well, I knew I got one thing wrong because I was checking out the battery pack when I was under it a week or so ago, and I noticed the part number on it seemed a little off. So I Googled the part number, and it came back to a 90 kilowatt hour battery, and I thought, how strange, because this is not a P90, this is a P85. Well, the gentleman said, can I call you and fill you in on some of the details? And I said, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, the car has had more work than I thought that it did. With that said, for almost 300,000 miles, really not that bad. So here we go. I'm not putting these in any specific order of failure, just these are things that went wrong that he had to fix. One was a DC to DC charging inverter. The car would not charge, and that cost him $2,000. And I believe that DC to DC is kind of back here, over somewhere around the charging port, around the hatch area, something like that. Now this is interesting. The front rattling noise. I'm going to save that for last, because that is where Tesla lied to him. And that was what helped him make the decision. He thought that this car was done, it was over with and finished, so he bought another Tesla, a brand new Model S. So we're going to save what happened there till the end. These screens on this, or at least the main screen, the big screen, the computer screen that basically controls everything, he replaced it. Here's the thing, he told me that they replaced it with an MCU2. I'm not sure that this is an MCU2 unit. I could be wrong. I need to check into that a little bit further. But I don't think this is MCU2. I think they replaced it with another MCU1. Basically, it had the delaminating all over it, and eventually, he said, it just stopped working. So that cost him $1,800. But there's a plus side to this. He paid $1,800 out of pocket. Apparently there was a one of those lawsuits, what is a class action lawsuit filed, and Tesla lost, so they had to give him his money back. So ultimately, he got the screen replaced and he got a refund. So the screen was free. Whether it's an MCU 1 or 2, doesn't really matter. He got it replaced for free. 4 door handles. Door handles are notoriously problematic on these cars, guys. I've seen cars with 150,000 miles that have had 8 door handles replaced. This car's only had 4. He said the reason that is because he put the indestructible door handles on it and he's never had a problem with them again. So 4 door handles. Don't know how much that costs, but those, if you get it done at the service center, those can be pricey, probably $500, $700 a piece. Here's something for you. The motor, the actual drive unit on this has been replaced, but here's the kicker. It was replaced under warranty during a preventative maintenance visit. That's right, he took it in for just regular maintenance, and I know people think there's no maintenance involved. There is. You have to lube the brakes. Believe it or not, the brakes are used very rarely on these cars, and they'll actually rust and stick into place. You've got to keep things moved, lubed up under the car. They require alignments. They do require tires, and other than that, there's not a whole lot. There's not a lubable suspension under there. There's no oil changes, no air filters, serpentine belts, spark plugs. There's like nothing. If I'm going on a road trip, I don't need to bring oil or antifreeze or transmission fluid and power steering fluid or a jumper pack. I don't bring anything. What are you going to bring? A battery charger? Maybe. But anyway, he had the motor replaced, and he said he didn't even know that there was anything wrong with the motor. He took it in just for like preventative maintenance or whatever, and they came back and said, hey, we're going to replace your drive motor because it's making a high-pitched whining noise. And he was like, I think it's normal. And they were like, no, it's whining too much and we're going to put a new motor in it. And he was like, okay. So they put a new motor in it. That was done under warranty, which tells you how long ago that was. This car had a 150,000 mile warranty. It is now at 270,000 miles. I don't know the exact mileage when the motor was replaced, but it is a replacement unit. So let's get into the big one. This is the biggest one, the battery. The battery in this car, and this is where the story is beautiful, man. It's beautiful. The battery's 1 year old, and the battery only has, what did he say? He said he had the battery replaced at 150, or no. Where did it go? 20,000 miles on the battery. There it is. He said that it's a 1 year old Tesla replacement, and he told me that this is a new battery. He thought about going the route of a refurb battery or fixing the cells or whatever in it at a third party. He said the cost of doing that was $5,000, plus shipping the car was going to cost a few $1,000s. And Tesla quoted him for this car, get this, 12 grand. They made a mistake. This is beautiful. Tesla made a clerical error. They quoted him $12,000 for a battery for this car because it's a P85. They don't make a P85 battery anymore. Somebody made a mistake. The car went in. They upgraded the battery to a 90 kilowatt hour battery. So technically this is a P90, not a P85. And then they came back and they tried to charge him over $15,000. And he was like, but wait a minute, you quoted me 12 grand. And they said, yeah, but that was a mistake because we have to put this bigger battery in because we don't make the other battery anymore. And he said, that's your mistake though. Like, I didn't agree to pay $15,000 plus for a battery. I agreed to pay 12. Ultimately, Tesla ate the cost and he got a brand new battery, a bigger battery for 12 grand installed in the car. So that battery, he said, is 1 year old. And here's the kicker. He was on the fence at the time, a year or so ago, right around a year ago. These cars, brand new Teslas, were over $100,000. And he was debating, he knew it was getting older, he knew it needed a little bit of work, and he thought, man, this battery is a huge expense. Until that expense, there was nothing really all that expensive that he had to fix on the car out of his own pocket. Nothing crazy. It was a big expense for sure, but 12 grand after almost 300,000 miles of service. That's really not that bad, especially when you consider charging these things costs almost nothing from home. So he had a decision to make. Was he going to fix the car and keep it and continue driving it? Paid off. He paid this car off 5 years ago. He owned the car for 10 years, and he loved, as you can tell by the mileage, every single minute of it. Well, he gave it some thought, and he determined $12,000 was better than shelling out $100,000 for a new car and having to take out a whole nother loan and going through that whole mess again, so he replaced the battery pack. Understandable. Good decision. That's a very smart financial decision. One that I would not have made, because I would have just gone out and been like, yeah, just give me the latest and greatest. I'll pay for another 7 years. That's fine. The guy's obviously a lot smarter than me. He fixed his car, and he was enjoying his car, but there's some noise coming from the front end, right? So anyway, battery, 90 kilowatt hour. Before I forget, 90 kilowatt hour. He paid $12,000 for it, 20,000 miles-ish on the new battery. And here's the thing, though, software locked. Yeah, Tesla locked the battery so that you don't have access to the 90 kilowatt hours. No, you've got access to what you would have had back when it was a P85. The rest of the battery, I guess, is just sitting there. So on this car, I Googled it, you don't need to use a buffer. You can actually fill it up 100% full every day. Instead of having to leave a 20% buffer, you can charge it to 100% every day and drive it, and it should never hurt the battery because they software locked the rest of the battery for me. So there's already a built-in buffer. Now let's move on. The noise from the front end. This is epic, guys. The minute the car came in, I took it right up the driveway and I heard the rattle, rattle, rattle. And I was like, sway bar end links, man. 100,000 times I know what a sway bar end link sounds like. This one's got both of them. The passenger side is worse than the driver, but both of them do rattle. It's not a big deal. Like, what are sway bar end links going to cost? Even if you go to Tesla, you're probably looking at, I don't know, maybe $75, $150, maybe tops. You can change them yourself in 30 minutes. It's 2 bolts, one on the bottom, one on the top, each side. No big deal. Well, he took it into service, and they came back. This is where this gets me upset. It's not even my money. They tell him it's going to cost $4,000 to fix the noise. And he was, understandably upset. He just put $12,000 into the battery thinking that this car is going to be good for a long time, and then he gets hit with a $4,000 bill. Tesla told him, this is the service center. They told him that the rattling in the front end is from corrosion. They said because he lives in the Northeast, that corrosion had set in on all of the aluminum components under his front end, which is true. There is corrosion under there. There's corrosion. I've been through the whole underside of this car. There is nothing wrong with any of the parts on this car other than one toe link on the passenger rear, and it's not from corrosion. It's from a rotted bushing. It's just a bushing that went bad over 300,000 miles. All right. So they tell him your whole front end is bad. They said it's safe to drive, but you're going to have to deal with the noise. Well, of course it's safe to drive because the sway bar end links are still connected. They're still functioning. They just rattle because it's a ball and socket. If you don't know what a sway bar end link is, it's like your shoulder. All right, it's a ball and a socket. And what happens is over time they wear, and the thing ends up just rattling around in there. And you've got one on top and one on the bottom. And then you've got them on both sides. So you've literally got rattle, rattle, rattle all over the front end. They told him the whole front end of the car was trash and he's going to need to spend $4,000 to replace everything. He got upset because he just spent $12,000 on the battery, and he said, I'm done. The price of Teslas had dropped drastically from $100,000. You can buy a new Model S long range right now, fully decked out, for like $75,000 bucks. $75,000. So he said goodbye to the car. He took it to him. He said, what will you give me for it? And they said $6,500. They gave him $6,500 for this car. While he was waiting for his new Tesla to show up, which takes a couple of weeks, he gets to keep this car and continue driving it. Well, while he was driving, the heater went out. So that further let him know that it was time to get rid of it, right? The heat quit working, and he was like, F it, man. He's like, I'm done. I'm just done with the car, whatever. New Tesla comes in, this car goes away, it gets sent to ADESA. From ADESA, another dealer buys it, they throw a parts cannon at it and can't fix it, and then they send it to auction, where I end up getting it for $7,800. Now, if you think that's the end of the story, well, it's not. Because the other day, I was thinking about buying a brand new Model S long range myself. And I thought, I'm on Tesla's website. I've already built my car, which there's not much to build, really. I could get a Plaid. I'm not spending the money, and I just don't need anything that crazy fast. Honestly, a Model S long range, it would be perfect. It gets 405 miles to a single charge, and those things charge insanely fast. Like, things have changed over the years. They've gotten really, really good. But part of the reason I love this old Tesla is because it isn't a new one. I've had the newer ones. I've had autopilot, lane departure warning, collision avoidance, pedestrian avoidance. I have had all the gizmos and gadgets that these cars have to offer. And you know what it does? It distracts from the driving experience. It takes away from driving the car and it makes it more of an autonomous experience where you're not one with the car. You're not one with the road. You're one with your phone while your car is driving itself. While I understand and I enjoy those experiences, there's something about an old car like this. It's still a car. It's an EV, but it's rear-wheel drive, 430-ish horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.3, and you can turn traction control off. You can drift. You can do smoky burnouts if you want to. It does not have collision avoidance. It will not stop if you are about to run somebody over. It will not hit the brakes if the car in front of you slows down. No adaptive cruise control. It doesn't even have the lights in the mirrors to warn you of traffic in your blind spot. Okay, the car has nothing. It's just a car, but it's electric. It's a different kind of car. Fun, enjoyable. I love it because it still reminds me of a car without all the fancy gizmos that everything comes with today. But anyway, I was on Tesla's website. I picked out the car, I built it, and it's like, okay, do you have a trade-in? And I said, yes, I do. I was just curious, what would they give me for this car? Well, I entered it in, and Tesla came back with an offer the next day. They offered me $7,500 trade-in credit towards a brand new Tesla. $7,500. They gave him $6,500. I bought the car from auction myself for $7,800, and here Tesla is basically offering me my money back after I got to make videos and enjoy the car. I could go and get my money back right now. And let me tell you what I did. I thought about it. I really did. I really thought, man, it'd be nice to have the new dual motor. They're 0 to 60 in 3.8. 405 miles of range. That'd be real nice. Because this car gets about 260-ish, depending on the weather, whether it's hot or cold or whatever, but about 260 miles. 405, that means a lot less charging, and charging a lot faster gets you back on the road quicker. I gave it some consideration. I was like, nah, man. Nah, don't do it. Stick with this. I got a feeling this car is going to treat us good. I do. It was taken care of by the last owner. He spent a lot of money, and he took really good care of the car. And I think the car is ready to continue taking care of us. It's just going to need a little bit of maintenance to get it there. And I'm hopeful that we can get the heater working like it's supposed to, functioning on its own like it should. We can fix that toe link on the rear wheel, get a couple tires, maybe a set of rims, because these are curb rashed and a little bit torn up. You know, I think there's a few things we can do to really bring this car around and hopefully allow it to give us years of service with very little cost associated with it. So far, all the pieces I need to fix it. The rear view camera quit working recently because it had a crack in it, and I sprayed it with a pressure washer, not realizing it was cracked. Well, you can guess what happened. I fried it. That's okay. The camera, for the upgraded, newer camera, which has higher definition and better night visibility, the new camera's $350. It's a pain in the ass to change. It is. But that's another video. You guys can watch me rip apart the whole back end of the Tesla to change a teeny tiny little camera. There's content here for you guys to enjoy, for me to learn and film for you all. And I think the car, as far as tax purposes is concerned, it's probably the best car I own in my entire fleet for mileage deductions. This car cost me approximately 12 cents per kilowatt hour to charge. It holds approximately 75. Usually when I charge it from pretty much empty, it takes about 75 kilowatts to charge it up from, 5 or 10% or whatever, and to get it up to 100%. So 75 kilowatts times the 12 cents per kilowatt hour, you could figure out that you could fill this car up for what, $10? $10 pretty much from empty. Now, what car can you take, especially a big luxury car? I mean, this would be the equivalent of, like, God, this is a big car. At a minimum, this is an S-Class. Maybe a big E-Class. I don't know. You guys can argue that in the comment section below, but this is somewhere between an E-Class and an S-Class Mercedes, or a 5 and a 7 Series BMW. Those require premium gasoline, so you're going to be paying at least $3 a gallon for gasoline. I'm literally filling this thing up for $10 to go 260 miles for about $10. Something like that. That's not exact numbers, but something like that. That's kind of hard to beat, while at the same time being able to write off the cost of the car. I can just write off the 54 or 56 cents a mile for every mile I drive. Now, whether I choose to go actual expense or itemized expense versus the mileage, I'll figure that out with my tax agent next year when we have some real miles on this car. But currently, I'm thinking with as cheap as it is to charge, the fact that it really doesn't require any maintenance and I can take full advantage of the mileage deduction, that is probably the way I'm going to go with it. 54, 56 cents a mile, and I'm charging it at home for very little money. It's a hard deal to beat. Well, with that said, guys, I think I'm going to get out of here. It's time for me to hit the road. I got to head home, try to get some sleep, and Monkey Wrench Mike and I are heading to Indiana in the morning, and I'm doing it with a bad passenger side toe link, 2 bad tires, in the freezing cold. We're supposed to have like ice and snow and all kinds of stuff heading, because today is January the 11th. So we've got a massive storm pushing through the United States right now, and we are taking the Toyota Prius and we're taking the Tesla Model S, and we are going to basically race them through some awful weather, and we're going to see who gets to Terre Haute, Indiana first, and then who gets back to Oklahoma first, and then we're going to compare how much it costs to charge this car there and back versus how much it costs to drive a teeny tiny Prius all the way there and back, to figure out which car is cheaper and which one ultimately do we think is better. The race, I think, will be won by Monkey Wrench Mike. I expect that he's going to beat me there if he drives the Prius. But if he drives the Tesla, I'm fairly certain I'm going to beat him there. So we'll flip a coin and figure out who's going to drive which. But stay tuned for that video, because we are literally driving through some very bad conditions to do this test. And also, I needed to go to Indiana anyway. There's an issue with the house. Temperatures are about to drop below 7 degrees below zero. I've got to get to Indiana and make sure everything is good with that house. So we had to go up there anyway. I just figured this would be a great time to make an interesting video through some horrible weather with a couple of cars that we just bought and know absolutely nothing about. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the thumbs up button and let me know. Please drop your comments down below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. And until next time, stay safe out there, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon in the next one.